GM to all. This is yours truly, Nomad Fury. And of course, right here, we have the founder and CEO of PraSaga. So we have Michael Holdmann here. Thanks for being here in the show.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it and appreciate the time that you're giving us in order to kind of delve into the project a little.
All right. And I remember about we're having a collaboration 3 years ago,
Yeah.
but I think it was Jay Moore, the chief collaboration officer, as I remembered it correctly. And fast forward to today, here we are, and you have been silently building over the years. Despite these market conditions here and there, but you still doing it. You still keep building, and here you are right now. We're getting close to the much anticipated launch of the Sagachain.
Mhm.
So this is what we are trying to discuss right here in this podcast.
Mhm.
And of course, before we begin, I would like to say hello to all of our viewers here who are tuning in to our podcast today with Michael Holdmann, the founder and CEO of PraSaga. So before we get things started, I'm inviting you all to smash that subscribe button and turn on the notifications for more videos like this. And kindly take note of the disclaimer that is found right here on the screen and in the video description. So Mike, are we all set?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so before you guys have built PraSaga over the years, let's try to stroll back in time, shall we? Now, Mike, could you share how did you got started in your journey into crypto and Web3 space, and what made you decide to dive into this industry and create and build PraSaga?
Yeah, thank you very much. PraSaga actually came from an IoT, Internet of Things and Smart City project that I had going. We were myself and my co-founder David Bieberman were the CTO, and Jay also prior. Jay has actually taken a back seat and left the organization in order to enjoy more of life, I guess I could say, with his wife and such like that. But we had founded this in order to decentralize the Internet of Things. We were not looking at blockchain for the longest time. And it was when IOTA came out, kind of in 2016, 2017, that we actually came in and saw that, okay, there might be an application. We might be able to do an IoT Internet of Things play here. I have a very high performance message bus, which connects IoT devices, thermostats and propellers and whatever. I don't care where it is or what it is. Two back-end systems into people and sends data, and then they can send controls back, so you can change the temperature of a house or slow down the RPMs on a propeller, whatever it may be. It doesn't matter. It's just data going up and controls going back. We saw the walled gardens being built, and that's the reason that we wanted to decentralize IoT. We started the project and wrote a white paper in 2017. And specifically, we were going to take the message bus that I had. We were going to create an IoT, a decentralized IoT, by taking one of the blockchains and integrating it with the message bus. I had a small round that we did in March and April of 2018 on our way to do an ICO. And we were asked a simple question. That was, how are you going to scale the blockchain? And so that kind of delayed, and in fact, it ended up canceling the ICO because us as technologists have a problem with saying we can do something until we know that we actually can do it. So we started researching dev. We researched all the major projects and such. And, don't get us wrong, every one of them works. They move a token from one address, from one smart contract to another, or a wallet address from one smart contract to another, and track balances. But that's all that they can do, is simple token transfer. And even though they do that all very well and such, it wasn't what we needed for that, because what people don't really realize, when you go and purchase something and do commerce, there's a whole lot of things that go on behind that you're not aware of. You think that you just run your credit card at a convenience store to buy a soda, and that's it. But that's not it, because there's tons of back-end systems and such. So all of these are very, very complex. Our focus wasn't in order to do very fast transactions. We wanted to ensure that we had a foundation in order to give this immutable and auditable, fully auditable capability to not only enterprise, but eventually the consumer as well. And so that's the reason for building PraSaga, was to get to that point where we can scale something that is enabled for, not to say that it would happen, but is enabled to be able to handle all 8 billion plus people in the world and create a currency or a method of exchange that allows you to exchange value with a very stabilized currency.
All right, so that's an interesting story on how you started your journey into this space and what made you decide to dive into crypto and Web3, and of course, building PraSaga over the years. And here we are today, and we're so excited for its launch. So thank you so much, Mike. And my next question for you is, what is currently the mission and vision of PraSaga?
So the mission, again, it's to be the underlying foundation for all transactions, all global transactions, financial or other. And by other, we mean not every transaction is a financial transaction. You also have, just the fact of being able to verify that you're KYC AML, or that you're an accredited investor in any specific jurisdiction. Of course, doing all this anonymously, so you can still be anonymous but have full regulatory compliance. It's really a matter of creating that infrastructure. We don't want to be in business where, open, permissionless, trustless, decentralized. There's a foundation currently. Dave and I, the co-founders, we expect to be out of day-to-day within this foundation. We would expect within 4 to 5 years. Once we have it optimized and everything's running smoothly, the whole idea is for the community to take full ownership of it and management of it and such, through, of course, a governance process and everything. So that's a mission. It's also to make sure that we can create a method of exchange that has stabilized purchase power. And what that means is that regardless, everybody looks at price and such like that, but when you're looking at currencies, for instance, the purchase power has to be stable in order to make sure that you have the same value tomorrow as it holds today. In today's current fiat economies or monetary policies, what they have is they have inflation. If it's 2% inflation, that means every year you lose 2% of the purchase power of that dollar. So for what you were able to purchase for $1 today, it's going to be, that dollar is now worth 98 cents. So you actually are going to spend $1.02 in order to purchase that same thing that was $1, and it goes kind of like that. What the goal is, and what we've spent the last 2.5 years writing, along with Lawrence White, who's a professor at George Mason, and a monetary policy expert in economics and such, is we wrote a monetary policy that will allow us to adjust the minting rate of the supply, so that we can achieve a specific zero inflation, zero deflation circulating supply, dynamically adjusted, so it's in line with the velocity of transactions. How many transactions are going? What is the total volume of those transactions? How much money has to be circulating for all of those transactions to complete? But we don't, and I always compare it to the casino, being from Las Vegas. In a vault in a casino, the cash you have in a casino in the vault has to match the amount of chips you have on the floor. You have to be able to cover all debt. If every chip on the floor was cashed in, you have to be able to cover that debt. So we kind of take the same thing. You don't need any more than that cash in your thing just to cover that debt, but you can't have any less. And that's kind of where we're at. That's really what we try to bring it down to its simplest term. And in the vision is the 4 Ps. And this has always gone 4 Ps. If you look at our logo, it's actually it looks like 2 infinity symbols, but it's 4 Ps put together. And those stand for purpose, people, planet, and philanthropy. And the purpose of this, again, is that mission to be that underlying foundation and have a method of exchange that can give all 8 billion people, enable them to have a access into a global economy and be successful in global commerce. And then just the people, make sure that they have a fair voice. Our governance is one account, one vote. It's not how rich you are. There is no weighting of the coins you have in order to make sure that you have more power in the vote and such like that. And it's got to be a KYC'd account. It's fully anonymous, but if you want to have voting rights in here and such, we got to make sure that everybody has an equal voice. So that's really the mission and the vision, and we've been able to stick to that over the 7 years that we've been on this road to almost listing. We're very, very close to getting we have a strategy to do a wrapped coin, and then that'll turn into a native coin soon.
Wow, so that's a really interesting mission and vision that you have shared to us, Mike. Thank you. And now I know that most of our community are really curious and excited about the launch of the Sagachain. So could you elaborate more on what Sagachain is all about for PraSaga?
Yeah, so Sagachain, we are a fully sharded blockchain. We don't just do transactions in parallel, we actually produce blocks in parallel. So each shard is its own blockchain, and then we have a very aggressive and complex account negotiation algorithm and a hash braiding. So that means that we take the hash from each individual shard and we braid them together so that it's a single chain. Just each individual shard does its own processing, kind of like each one is its own CPU. And that allows us to scale far past what anybody else is capable of doing. And so what it is allowing us to do things that have not been able to be done in blockchain. And one of the main things that we're hearing in the discussions with enterprise is what they call is auditability. And this is something that's missing just in enterprise in general. The ability to take an end unit, say it's a car, and there's a car has 30,000 parts on average. Those parts have components inside of them. Those parts and those components all have certificates proving that they met whatever the certificate needs are, the requirements that the manufacturer put out in order to be in that car. And then there's suppliers and manufacturers and distributors of all those things, all the way down to raw material being pulled out. And that's what enterprises are looking for, and that's what we have solved for them. Smart contracts, again, very, very good things. They do simple token transfers, but you do not get the complex auditability or provenance of an item that's necessary and gives it. We met with one enterprise in the pharmaceutical, and the individual in charge of innovation over there told this directly. You guys solved my problem with compliance forever. He goes, based on what you showed me and what I've seen here in this demo, and we've got a little one, no matter what regulations a governing body comes out with, like the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA here in the United States, you've shown me a platform that I will always be compliant because I now have an immutable record of every single transaction that happened to anything that we ever touched from cradle to grave. And I can access it through a referenceable container. And we call your account, you have an account, that account is now a container, and every asset that you own is in that container. So for a business, it would be all the products that they do, all the suppliers, all the employees and such. For an individual, it would be your house, your car, and these shares that you own and such like that. And it really changes the dynamics of the blockchain and the way that people will be able to interact with the world and each other. And that's really what Sagachain is going to deliver.
Wow, so at least you've elaborated more on what really Sagachain is all about and what makes you guys stand out from the other blockchains out there, especially the fact that I have read about, regarding smart assets, like instead of doing smart contracts, you do smart assets. And it's something that I really wanted to learn more. So could you also elaborate more on how smart assets really work, for our audience here?
Yeah, so I'll try to it's a technical thing, but I'll try to do it as non-technical. So in the smart contract world, let's think of a grocery store or market, right? You go to market, you buy your groceries, and you go to the checkout stands. And imagine you're at the checkout stand now, and in a smart contract data model, and there's now 3 data models in blockchain. There's a UTXO model, data model, which is Bitcoin and Litecoin and all those. There's a smart contract data model, which is every blockchain out there that's not UTXO. They all follow that Ethereum data model. And then we're introducing the metaclass object database model. And in this one, considering the smart contract data model, you go to the registers. Each register, each checkout line in the grocery store is its own individual smart contract. So if you have a cart and you have pork and beef and chicken and lettuce and beans or whatever in it, you can't go to one single register, because that register can only take the item that is in that smart contract. So only beef in lane 1, for instance, only pork in lane 2, only chicken in lane 3. So that means that you have to go to each individual lane in order to check out and get your receipt, i.e. the transaction was completed and it's in the block and such like that. It's finalized. The newer ones are being able to share the execution sharding, right? So what they can do is the clerk on register 1 can go ahead and send a couple transactions over to register 2. So the person can now go over and do beef on register 2 because register 2 is not as busy as register 1. So they get the transactions done. But the problem is they're not finalized. They still have to go back to register 1 in order to get the receipt, because the smart contract and the data for that account is still sitting in register 1. So even if you can go and do a transaction faster, in order to be done with that transaction, you still have to go back to the line with the smart contract and wait for it to complete. In our world, that doesn't happen. Each individual object, each item in your basket is an individual object, and you can go to any register and pay for all of the objects that you have, because we're an account-based system. We are not a smart contract-based system. So that means that my account and all my items in my account, when I go to sell them, the register will be able to understand exactly what I have as far as items go, make sure that anything that is involved within finalizing that transaction is there in that checkout lane on that register, and it will complete all of my transactions that I have in that basket. And that's really the difference between smart contracts and us. So in us, instead of waiting in line for something to get done, or being able to do something fast and going back into line and waiting for it to get complete, you just go to the shortest lane. It doesn't matter where it is, you can use the shortest lane. And they'll open, and we will open registers and close registers in order to make sure that we keep a average transaction queue. So the latency, how long does it take your transaction to sit in a queue until it goes into the transaction flow in order to get validated and completed? Our idea, and this is how we're going to keep a transaction fee stabilized, we can measure the length of the transaction queue. If it starts to get too long for you to wait, we can actually dynamically add another shard, as long as we have the proper amount of node validators or node operators waiting in a queue to go and join and start to do POS and POW. We do a hybrid. We can open up another shard and bring that transaction latency back into the average time that we're trying to achieve. Can do the same thing as it slows down. We don't ever want it to go to 0, because if nobody's making any money off of doing the transactions, we're not going to have a secure chain. So we can also, as the latency starts to go faster, right? So it's faster that your transactions are going in. we can go ahead and take resources away. So we can put nodes back into a queue in order to take shards away, in order to bring that transaction latency back to the average time. And that allows us to have we believe, a stabilized transaction fee. So you can know that your transaction fee is always going to be about the same regardless.
Wow. So that's really interesting to know, how smart assets work. It is something that I have never seen before in other chains. And correct me if I'm wrong, if you guys are the first one to do this kind of concept, well, yeah, it's something that we really look forward to. So thank you so much for explaining to us, in a little bit of layman's terms on how smart assets works and how they really differ from the smart contracts. Yeah. And of course, my next question for you, Mike, is which industries are you guys mostly focused on right now for PraSaga?
So that's a good question. I mean, the majority of the team comes out of enterprise and industry, right? We've been doing this for quite some time. We're definitely in the boomer age range here. So our comfort zone is with enterprise and such, supply chain, pharmaceuticals, entertainment, real estate, all of those traditional kind of industries. So internally, we of course work towards where our experience is and call upon our contacts and such. However, that does not mean that we are not absolutely aggressively looking for DeFi and Web3 projects. One of the things that our project that we do, especially when it comes to, i.e. gaming, entertainment for artists or musicians or actors, whatever, it goes back to that notion of the account container. In today's world, you have your IP actually sits it's either at your producer in the Web2 world, or your manager or such, or the record company owns the IP and you get some royalties off of it that they decide to pay you. Or it sits within a smart contract. But the problem with the smart contract is that you do not have possession of that asset. So your IP, even though it's your IP, it can be hijacked at any point. You don't have as much control over it as you think. So in our world, imagine that you are an artist, you're a musician, and you have a bunch of songs, and now you have an account on Sagachain, and that account is actually a container. So your account can hold every asset that you have. So every single song that you have is an object in your account. The state of each one of those individual objects, each one of those individual songs, is part of that object, part of your account. The state, the data that ties to that asset is not sitting in a smart contract, that you have a wallet that you can see that you have rights to an amount of something that's in a smart contract. This is actually, you have an account, and in that account you have everything. And so now when somebody wants to purchase your song, they send a request from you, you give them an authorization in order to listen to it once or twice or forever or whatever. They pay you, and then your royalties are actually spread out to your manager, your producer, and such like that. So the artist becomes the center of their world. The IP is all in the control of the artist, and everybody else becomes a supplier and a customer of the artist. So those are really important things going into these virtual worlds. And we have a grant program that we're starting now, by the way. So projects reach out to us. We would love to talk to you. The grant is coming. We will have liquidity. We're looking to do a launch pad in December, and then shortly after that, go on to a CEX with a wrapped coin. But that means we'll have liquidity for grants within 3 to 4 months. If your projects that are funded but looking for a new approach to blockchain, talk to us. If you are a project that it does not need to be turned up by December, come and talk to us. Or does not have to have liquidity on the grant until December. Otherwise, please apply. You can go to PraSaga.com. You can send into marketing at PraSaga.com in order to apply and at least let us know about your projects. And I'll have a new project at PraSaga.com email set up also.
All right, so you guys have heard it from Mike, on which industries are they mostly focusing right now, especially the upcoming plans that they have, regarding these grants and also their campaign. So let's look forward to it, by the way. Also, I have another question for you. I see that your public testnet is already open for applications. So, could you give us sneak peek on what do we expect, in the public testnet if we do get approved?
So right now it's actually in private testnet stage. What we've done, because it's a very, very complex project, and because it's been very difficult for our coin holders to understand when something updates, because it's just command line source code. All right, so they don't really get it and need to find a developer. Hey, are these guys doing something actually? So we actually have at sagascan.prasaga.com, and the dev team is working on it right now, have a viewer that is a viewer of our private testnet running. And you're going to be able to see the updates now live as development goes on. Now, there's not changes every day, of course, but you'll be able to see it running and such. What this does also is this proves we are a Swiss foundation. And one of the things that we had to do before we can come out with a coin is we had to have a functioning chain. So what this also does is allows Swiss FINMA authorities to be able to go in and go to the URL, look to see that, yes, we have a running chain. Yes, there's transactions being done. Yes, there's blocks being produced. Consensus is being done and everything like that. And that gets us to the point where we can go ahead and now do an offering, a wrapped coin offering. Before, until we had a functioning chain, we couldn't list any ERCs or anything like that, waiting for our native coin to be out. So we were kind of held behind where a lot of other projects were able to go in and actually list as an ERC and then convert over. That's all behind us now. What you can see on there is right now we have 2 shards running. We have blocks being done in parallel on each shard. We have transactions on shard 1. I think they're going to update this week on another, put another shard and put transactions on all the shards so that you see actual transactions running on 3 shards and blocks being produced in parallel on 3 shards. And you really see what we can do. If we can do 1 shard, if we can do 2 shards, we can do 100 shards. We can do 1,000 shards. We have created to scale capacity. And then the next thing you see, and Dave is just finishing up on the final process of that, is our account negotiation algorithm. We'll be releasing that. We'll be writing up on it. And that's really the thing that sets us apart from all of the other blockchains out there. And it's, for that matter, it's a problem that has been faced in distributed computing for decades. That we solved for. You cannot solve it. If you did, then you would there would be no cryptography in the world. But you can find workarounds to come up with a solution that achieves a result that you want. And that's really what computer science is about. So we're going to be releasing this, our Saga Scale, and it's an account negotiation algorithm. And we hope that all of the other projects, and Vitalik and Tali and Ely and all this, all the other projects out there, and the tech guys take a look at it. We'd love thoughts on it. We'd love, the one thing that we've been looking for, we've been very out front with our designs and what we were going to do and how we were going to do it. We've been posting about it for quite some time. And we've always asked people, please comment on this. Are we going down the wrong road? It's 7 years later now. It's too late to really go, yeah, it's the wrong road. Obviously it works. But yeah, please, we're here to collaborate. We're here to be open and do everything that we possibly can. We believe that what we've actually created was an extension of the actual internet. It's a very advanced, persistent state data management extension of the internet. It just happens to be being delivered by a layer 1 decentralized, open, permissionless blockchain.
Okay, I see. At least you've clarified. Oh, because I think like a day ago, I have signed up for participating in the public testnet. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So
that'll be so what we have to do, and I'm sorry, let me finish that off. Public testnet is on its way. Right now, this is a permissioned chain, just like a Hyperledger Fabric or something like that, but Hyperledger Fabric kind of on steroids because the function is much greater. It's not permissionless yet. The next steps that we have to do is we have to go ahead and we have to do signature aggregation and BLS signatures, right? And we have to get that library put in and get that function done. So then we can have public nodes out there without having to be identified. So we can get to that trustless state. We also have to, right now it's a static, so we manually turn up shards. What we have to do is implement the code. It's already implemented. We just have to activate it. The code that does a dynamic sharding, dynamic allocations of shards and nodes, and brings them up and brings them down. And then finally, institute our monetary policy algorithm that will start to adjust the monetary supply or the minting rate of the coin for each block. What are the rewards that are being paid on each block? It'll be dynamically adjusted in order to make sure that we can hit that stabilized purchase power and become a stabilized method of exchange for everybody in the world. So that, and then we'll be public testnet. And then from there, it's just optimize. And we actually, that's what our current, we call it our node sale. It's a private sale, but it's a very decent sale. We're going to allow 1,000 node operators join public testnet. We're minting 8.1 billion coin. So if there's 1,000 nodes and everything on average, everything was equal, it's about 8.1 million coin that they would mint in rewards over a 12-month period. And then on mainnet, anybody can jump in, anybody can have a node and such like that. But specifically for this, it's a very interesting project. There's a principal, there's a bonus, there's an APR, there's a lock time. That's why you're earning the APR. And then you have the ability to actually regain your principal before your principal unlocks just through the rewards that you're winning by minting blocks. And I don't want to sound too cryptic, but I don't want to also go, yeah, being careful, reach out to info@dgblabs.io, and we send you all the information on it.
all right, Mike. So let's look forward to it. Hopefully that I could try out as soon as possible for the public testnet of
Nice.
PraSaga. I've been following you guys, ever since that we have like collaborated since 2021.
Yeah.
And last question, by the way, going back to 2021, you have launched your tokens as ERC20, right? Oh no.
No, that's what I was explaining earlier. We couldn't, because FINMA in Switzerland changed I was at first under the impression there was under the belief that they added 3 words to their regulation for what makes a utility coin, what makes a payment coin. I was told that no, it was actually in there. It was just never really enforced. It started to be enforced with us. So the reason that we were going to do the balancer liquidity pool and everything and go out with an ERC20, build the chain, and then convert over. FINMA, as we were going through, the regulation used to state that the coin or the token is now or will be used for a payment or utility on a blockchain, on the blockchain, right? Well, they added 3 words, and those 3 words were on the functioning chain. So it is now or will be a payment token on the functioning chain. So that means that until we had where we're at now with this private testnet and a viewer on it, if we were to go ahead with our ERC20 plan back then, we would have been listed or considered a security and not a payment and utility. And then that means we would have had to have been under security regs and such like that. And that's not what this is, right? So yes, no, we had plans to do it. but we weren't able to. That's one of the things that we absolutely made sure of, that we were always under, in compliance with regulations as much as we can be, because they change. So you just hope that they don't, the change isn't too drastic, that you can change as well. But yeah, that's the reason we didn't. And that's why this new wrapped coin, we're finally able to do that, start that strategy, in order to go ahead and get a wrapped coin out there. It'll be ERC20 and SRC, BSC. We'll have it on all chains.
Oh yeah, I see. But what I mean is that, back then, there are existing coins. Even me, of course, I still have some DGT tokens under
Yeah,
ERC20. So what would happen to those tokens? Will they be migrated to the new chain or something like that?
absolutely. Yeah, those all convert over to SagaCoin. And so what everybody will do, and we'll put out instructions on here, but just high level, in our world, you go and you set up an account on Sagachain. You'll do it through a website, through a browser. And you'll set up an account. You don't go to a wallet and add a smart contract address. You actually go in, you enter your account like you do with PayPal or with a bank or anything like that online. And then you get an account number assigned from there. That account number, then that's where your allocation of SagaCoin will be placed. And so you just, those that have their wallet addresses listed in the DGT agreements will have those matched up to their SagaCoin account, or the Sagachain account, and then there will be the distribution of SagaCoin, and the DGT just goes away.
Oh, I see. So glad to know. This is for those who are watching this video who until now they're still like holding those DGT tokens
Yeah.
in their wallet. So at least they know coming from you, Mike. So thank you so much for that. So before we wrap this up, do you have some parting words for our amazing subscribers and viewers who are tuning into our podcast today?
Yeah, no, hey, I really, really appreciate you guys following us along. It's been a very long road. There's a lot of dev that had to go on. There was a lot of complex things. It's code, so you never know. You can set goals, but you hope that you reach them, but that's not always the case. And we really appreciate the patience of everybody here. This chain is now at a point where it is running. We have proved everything that we said that we can do. So we're going to now start to ensure that there's some liquidity for the community. Also, it allows us to go out. Please talk about us to everybody. Let everybody know about PraSaga Official. Follow us on at PraSaga Official on Twitter and in our Telegram. Comment, reply, and just this is your chain. This is your project. We're just the custodians of it right now until it can be completed and handed over to everybody. And, the more that you get involved, the more successful this will be. Now it does come all down to community. The only way that this coin is successful is for you and everybody to make it successful and back it. And we're here to deliver all the technology and all the function that we promised. But we really need the community to kind of be the driving force behind here. So please, we ask you and would love for everybody to participate and join and be vocal about us.
All right, so there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, our special guest for today's podcast. So we have Michael Holdmann, the founder and CEO of PraSaga. So once again, Mike, thank you so much for your time here with us today. Thank you.
Absolutely appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. And also would like to thank all of our subscribers and viewers who are tuning into our podcast today with Michael Holdmann, the founder and CEO of PraSaga. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed learning from Mike, about PraSaga and its latest developments. And hopefully we could collaborate some more, all right? And don't forget to follow them in their official socials, in which they're found right here in the description of this video. And just to remind to all of our viewers here that, regarding the best question, so we will be selecting the 2 best questions here in the comment section of this video, who will be taking home $50 worth of USDT each. Okay, so guys, do your best to construct your best question to Mike and PraSaga. All right. And also, once again, don't forget to smash the subscribe button and turn on the notifications for more videos like this. So, once again, this is yours truly, Nomad Fury. So, guys, I thank you for watching our podcast today. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much.